Ag PhD full episodes and more are now available on Acres TV, the newest ag platform connecting you to fields of information. Look for us on watchacrestv.com.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk a little about weed control and shelter belts.
Well, there's a big difference between a brand new shelter belt and one that's been around for a while.
Yep.
With a brand new shelter belt, oftentimes we like to keep everything out. No grass, nothing. Give all the moisture and all the sunlight and everything to those trees and try to get them off to a really good start. When you've got an existing shelter belt, you likely have grass growing out there to hold weeds down.
All right, so let's talk first about this situation where we want to keep everything out of the shelter belt. What a lot of people have done in the past is use products like Casseron or Princep, something like that. But if you truly want everything out of there, you probably had to just spray Roundup. What we've done in our shelter belts when we have brand new ones is we will have tarp, black tarp that gets laid down, and then that keeps the weeds from growing. So if you can do that, great. But keep in mind, you're not going to do that over the entire thing because then of course no rain would be able to get in. What we're doing is putting the black tarp in the rows, and then between the rows we'll just go out and kill everything with Roundup multiple times per year. And you might say, well, there are Roundup resistant weeds. Look, there are not many Roundup resistant weeds, and here's my experience. If we've got weeds that are 1 inch tall or 1/2 inch tall or 1/4 inch tall and we're using the highest labeled rate of Roundup, there's not much that won't kill.
Well, those are the easy times, Brian, when you don't have a lot of desirable things out there. But now as those trees get up and they start to branch out, now we really worry about, okay, we don't want to hurt the trees at all, but we do want to hurt the weeds and keep them out. So we have to look at the times of year that would be best to spray, like early spring and later on into the fall.
Yeah, I used to worry a lot more about this timing thing because all we would go out and spray is 2,4-D. Well, 2,4-D moved all over the place.
2,4-D, yes.
Right. Well, now we have the non-volatile 2,4-D called Freelix. So you can spray Freelix, in my opinion, just about any time during the year. I'm not too worried about it, and that is my favorite product in shelter belts where we have now established grass. So again, this is a little bit different situation than, oh, we're trying to keep everything out. Here, we want to just kill the broadleaf weeds and let the grass grow.
Well, the other thing that you may be looking at out there is vines, and this is probably the toughest thing to control in shelter belts. When you've got climbing vines like wild cucumber that'll get up on the trees, in many cases you're best off just to go out and pull those from the ground. You see this great big vine, and it might be all coming from one little spot.
Okay,
so it might not take much to do it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you think, oh, I'm going to go out there with the four-wheeler and I'm just going to spray in between the shelter belt rows, you can certainly do that if you want. In some cases, you're going to have to use a hand sprayer or the hand wand to get underneath the trees, and then that could get something like wild cucumber. But yeah, in some cases, you might be ahead to just go pull that. But here's what we're saying. Okay, so at this point, when you get into the fall, you want to spray before your first killing frost, if at all possible. Use the highest labeled rate of Freelix. You can do an excellent job on most broadleaf weeds. There are a few other products that can be used in the fall, but I mean, really, this is the product that we are pretty much going to stick to. I don't like old 2,4-D. I don't like dicamba. I don't like these things that volatilize and move all over the place. Use Freelix.
Here's the other thing. If you're spraying the weeds outside and around that shelter belt, you have to keep in mind those trees, if they're 100 feet tall, they may have roots that go 200 feet out. So if you're spraying something harsh, be really cautious. Don't spray things you wouldn't spray in the trees anywhere near to trees.
Right, so what he's talking about is Tordon, for example, will kill trees. It will go down in the soil, it will get in the root system, it will last in the soil for many years a lot of times, so be really careful with those kind of products.
Let's talk existing shelter belts here again. If you've got trees that are trimmed up a little bit and you can roll through the shelter belt with a sprayer, or maybe even still do it by hand if you want to, depending on the size of your shelter belt, there are some products that you can put down to keep weeds from coming up all through the season, just like you would in your lawn.
Yep, so we used to talk about trifluralin years ago. Anymore, the labeled product is pendimethalin. That also doesn't evaporate, so you could use that and you don't have to till it in or anything like that. We get questions too because of the lawn spraying of mesotrione. Could you go out with that in the shelter belt. I mean, you probably could. I don't think that would hurt the trees a whole lot. You just have some residual.
You just want to be careful that you don't get stuff on the trees. So that's why I mentioned you might want to trim the trees up a little bit. That way, when you're spraying down on the ground, you don't have to worry about that branch that's also down to the ground. And then don't spray right on the trunks of the trees. Try to stay away from them if you can, at least a foot or so, just to give yourself some cushion.
And then the biggest thing I would say is this is going to take multiple applications. Don't think that, oh, I'm just going to spray one time per year and that's going to be it. All my weeds are gone forever. Things like Freelix, even mesotrione, they don't last forever. So you might have to spray 2 or 3 times depending on how long your growing season is. But it's really important if you can keep a lot of those broadleaf weeds out of there. The trees just seem to do a little bit better.
Well, weed control in shelter belts is important, and one weed that you might see out there is our weed of the week. Can you identify it?